This commission is not a prosecuting body, it's not a judicial body, it's not punitive but restorative. We're dealing with the entire nation. We hope that your cooperation with the Commission will go a long way to knowing the causes of the rebel war and what we can do as a nation to change the face of Sierra Leone. When the Commission was enacted in Parliament on the 22nd of February 2000, the Commission's mandate, among other things, included one, to establish an impartial historical record of violations and abuses of human rights and international humanitarian law, beginning of the 23rd of March 1991, when the rebel war, as it were, began in Bomaru, where the very first gunshot was fired, to the end of the war, as it were, that is to the signing of the Lome Peace Agreement on the 7th of July 1999 in Lome. Second, to address impunity. 3, to respond to the needs of victims. 4, to promote healing and reconciliation. And 5, to prevent a repetition of the abuses suffered by our people in this country, and to say never again should there be any rebel war in Sierra Leone.
The Revolutionary United Front of Sierra Leone, popularly known as the RUF, committed roughly 2/3 of the violations and abuses during the conflict. Liberian faction leader Charles Taylor heavily influenced the initial stages of the conflict through the deployment of his NPFL troops in Sierra Leone in 1991 and 1992. The original force that entered Sierra Leone from Liberia in 1991 consisted of around 2,000 fighters. 385 of them were vanguards of the RAF trained by Fode Sanko in Liberia. The remainder were so-called special forces affiliated to Charles Taylor's National Patriotic Front of Liberia, or NPFL. Only about 100 members of this force were Sierra Leoneans.
Because I want to make a known, say the RUF, we get 3 fighters or combined under one. We get the NPFL, we get the RUF who were locally abducted here, who were captured, against their will and trained in Sierra Leone. Others were trained in Liberia together with Liberians.
Libya had a limited but significant impact on the conflict by providing the original training for a few of the RUF's top leadership. Libya also funded the RUF in the early 1990s. The RUF originally planned conventional warfare to overthrow the APC government. Its plan was well received by many towns, especially in Kainlao. Its forces grew dramatically both by voluntary and forced recruitment.
These people planning to fight the government hadn't any force. They came into the country and found droves of young men and women who were traveling, who were starving. They had no work, no home, no bearing. In short, they had no life at all. And they were easy targets.
The military was in a state of disrepair at the outbreak of hostility in 1991. Its lack of preparation for conflict was compounded by grave mismanagement of the original war effort.
Almost all RSLMF troops at the time had not had the privilege, quote unquote, of practicing their skills at the range, for instance, for long periods even with their personal rifles, most of them as long as 10 years or more. It seemed a deliberate strategy to make the army a non-effective fighting force.
In April of 1992, several junior ranking officers of the Sierra Leone Army seized power in a coup d'etat and established the National Provisional Ruling Council, or NPRC. The NPRC regime was popularly received, but made rash political decisions and was ultimately unable to consolidate peace or victory.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is sad to see that 26 were executed by Fire Squad for mutiny, or for what you might call treason. And there was actual military intelligence that indicated that a group of army and police officers were plotting to overthrow the legitimate government. Now, I would want to make this clear to you that at the time when this report was actually given to the government, there wasn't any time for a proper, I'll use the word again, for a proper trial to go on.
After infighting forced the NPFL troops out of the country in 1992, the RUF suffered heavy casualties and was required to adopt a new strategy. The RUF's trademarks became ambushes and hit-and-run attacks, often wearing full military uniforms. They used superior guerrilla warfare tactics to infiltrate every district of the country and to attack installations of key economic importance. The NPRC prioritized youth in its recruitment campaign, fast-tracked them through training, and sent them promptly to the war front. Inexperience and indiscipline made them vulnerable to the RUF's tactics. There was also extensive disloyalty, and many soldiers collaborated with the RUF. The public and the government began to see the entire army as soldier rebels, whom they call Sobel.
Then we get frequent attack.
We were having frequent attacks.
We feel that the rebels said they do that.
So we thought it was the rebels that were attacking us.
Later, I got progress speculation say the soldiers themselves involved in short activities.
So later we came to realize that the soldiers too were even they were the people who were attacking us.
Also reported was collusion between the rebels and some units of the military. This explains the lack of trust by the CDF of the military much later on.
Following the 1996 election of President Ahmed Tijan Kaba, the most significant pro-government fighters were the Civil Defense Forces, or CDF. The CDF combined all the different militia groups formed in communities in defense of their homeland and made them an arm of state security. The vast majority of the CDF were so-called Kamajors from the south and east of the country.
We formed a CDF.
We formed the CDF.
We start to defend the land.
Then we started defending our land.
We formed a CDF.
Formed the CDF.
We asked government for giving guns them.
We don't ask government to supply us arms, ammunition.
Now we said they contribute, we get and the shotgun cartridges them.
So we contributed and we bought arms, ammunition. We bought ammunitions.
We go fight the rebel them now.
To fight the rebels.
The CDF lacked cohesion and coordination. In particular, the mandate given to the CDF to monitor checkpoints was poorly defined. It effectively licensed the CDF to dispense summary justice, mostly against perceived rebels or collaborators.
Control of many of the vigilante groups became very difficult for most units. It was reported then that many of the vigilantes had been engaged in peripheral killing of their people.
A second military coup took place on 25th May 1997 amidst bloodshed and lawlessness. It led to the creation of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, or AFRC, which formed an extraordinary, though fragile, alliance with the RUF.
Really, from the time when the war came, 1990, one, unto the time, when was it? We will get for merge with AFRC, the ideology, the discipline, the control of the revolution was very high.
From 1991, when it was started, before we married with the AFRC, the revolution was a very disciplined one.
When they deal with people where they commit crime, where they go against the ideology of the revolution, where they try for cause problem, burn house, innocently, this and that, we'll be wholly and solely engaged on the discipline of that kind of Motamande.
Offenders, we are strongly disciplined, burning houses and doing other wrongs to people. We never laugh with those people. We punished those people severely at that time.
But the moment we get for make that married with the AFRC, things went out of control.
But the moment we merged with the AFRC, things went out of hand.
When we want to join AFRC,
we did not want to join the AFRC
because the reason why we don't want to join them,
the reason being that
we know say
we knew that
we're going to fight war.
We are capable of fighting the war.
We don't have no problem.
We did not want any problem.
But why we joined them?
The reason which made us to join them,
because we want peace,
was because we wanted peace.
And we believe
that
would be the right way for bring peace.
While strongly opposed by the majority of the civilians, the AFRC was supported by rank-and-file soldiers because their ousted military superiors had engaged in embezzlement and mismanagement. During the reign of the AFRC, the CDF expanded and mobilized its ranks with more militant youth who were ready to fight. The movement used initiation ceremonies to instill an illusory sense of invincibility into its recruits. In many cases, its forces went into battle underprepared and with undue confidence. As a result, they jeopardized the security of the communities they were supposed to be protecting. While the CDF played a key role in restoring the government to power, they also committed abuses. From 1997 onwards, they account for 8% of the violations recorded by the TRC. As the conflict intensified, there was a conspicuous lack of will to intervene among most of the countries Sierra Leone looked to for help, including Britain and the United States. In its greatest hour of need, Sierra Leone was abandoned by the international community. The government of Sierra Leone ultimately made a strong appeal to ECOWAS, the sub-regional grouping for West Africa. The result was the intervention of ECOMOG, a robust Nigerian-led monitoring force. In many cases, ECOMOG soldiers were drawn into the heat of the conflict beyond the call of their mandates. At various points, they carried out summary killings and other abuses of suspected rebels and collaborators. While ECOMOG's intervention was decisive in restoring the government to power, it lacked sufficient planning as to what mechanism would prevent Sierra Leone from falling into a state of lawlessness. Mob justice against perceived collaborators prevailed for a time in several parts of the country. Key commanders of the AFRC regrouped after they were forced out by ECOMOG and launched a violent backlash through the north of Sierra Leone, culminating in the invasion of Freetown in January 1999. Further splitter groups later emerged, including the notorious West Side Boys. The demise of the RUF is linked to key failures in the implementation of the Lome Accord. Sankor and the bulk of his RUF political leadership were arrested and detained in May of 2000. According to the government, these people were responsible for the deaths of demonstrators killed in a shootout at Sankor's compound. None of them has been tried for the offense, and many of the RUF are still in prison. Although discontent and interfactional divisions continue to haunt the military today, valuable attempts at reformation are being made, including training from British troops. Over the course of the conflict, the vast majority of atrocities were committed by Sierra Leoneans against Sierra Leoneans. In many communities, the conflict became a vehicle for the bearing out of personal grudges and vendettas that had existed for many years. The most frequently reported violation was forced displacement, followed by looting and destruction. There were also, however, distinct operations which concentrated particular abuses on targeted civilian populations at chosen times. Civilians often became objects of political or factional allegiance. They were victimized and their limbs were amputated in order to send a message to the enemy.
Now, prevent the people them from voting.
It was done to prevent people from voting.
Because then we say,
because, according to them,
election before peace.
Election before peace.
RUF said peace before election.
RUF said peace before election.
Combatants from each of the factions used tactics known as pay yourself. They will force captives to act as human caravans to carry away their loot. The affluent, the elderly, and people with status were heavily targeted, and many of them lost everything they had.
I was in my house when the soldiers entered. We are happy now. We have found our deadly enemies. Your son has been the Secretary General for this district. Then they pulled some cords. They tied our hands, put our hands on our back, and took us to their base. When they had prisoned us, they locked the prison on us and went out, straight to my house. Then, very soon, we had firing, jubilation, and smoke going off. Everything was taken. All property was gone. After some time, they told me, come with us. We are now taking you to the place we are going to kill your son. We are going to cut him in pieces alive. And you have to witness it. So when they brought me to the field, the UMC field, my son was kneeling down, and blood was oozing from him at all angles. They said, if you cry, we will shoot you. So under gunpoint, they forced me to look. They cut his hands until they opened his chest, took out his heart, cut it off. Then they cut a piece, forced it into my mouth. Then they laid him down, laid it in my arms, saying, go and breastfeed your child. Then they said, we don't know you. We don't know your son. But your people in this town have told us a lot of evil things about you. And one of the things they have said, that because your son is Secretary General for this district, a huge amount of money, gold, and diamonds, you have hidden in this compound. Your son is dead. But you have to tell us where you buried it. I said, I have no idea. But as you have what shovels, dig up wherever you can find it. So they dug the whole compound. And all the banana and plantain plantations, they cut all down with the machetes and turned the roots over with the shovels. When they found nothing, they dug a big hole back of the house and they laid me there like this. They started putting mud on me. When it was high up, some were pounding it and others were putting it on. Then they said, do you know what is going to happen now? If you don't tell us, we'll cut your head off with the shovel, as we had cut off your child's head. No one will ask us. Then I said, the God who made you made me also. And he's everywhere. He sees and knows everything. We are never hidden treasures here. Even diamond, I've never seen it with my eyes. If you will kill me for what I'm innocent, man dies only once. Then one said, it's only because you have called the name of God we are leaving you. Get up and go.
Ethnicity was also used to instigate human rights violations during the conflict. Chiefs and tribal authorities were deliberately targeted to ravage the traditional cultural fabric and as retribution for corrupt politics.
Upon our arrival, they asked about the town chief. They did not see him quick. He later came. I am the chief. Are you the chief? Then he was ordered to move and to come again. Go. Come. Lie down. Open your mouth. Wow! They put a single barrel gun in his mouth and fire. Then we were ordered to throw the corpse away. Everybody became silent. No noise was made.
Contrary to popular belief, diamonds were not a cause of the conflict in Sierra Leone. The RAF did not start the war to get diamonds, but the RAF and other factions used diamonds to buy weapons and supplies, especially after 1999.
Mining office here.
They had a mining office in Kono and they were mining in Kono.
Government here was RAF.
The RAF was a government.
Ministry here.
They had all the ministries.
So, mining commander here.
They had the mining commander.
You want him to mining Aviana?
Anytime they carry out the mining, all will be taken to him. That used to just happen between the two of them.
Because that was government property.
Nobody will be allowed to set eyes on the diamond. They used to call it government property. If you are caught with the diamond, they will kill you.
The central cause of the war in Sierra Leone was bad governance. Corruption and bad governance led to institutional collapse by weakening the army, the police, the judiciary, and the civil service. The entire economy was undermined, breeding resentment, poverty, and a deplorable lack of access to key services.
There was no accountability to the people of Sierra Leone. People did what they wanted in these institutions. The army, in particular, was self-accounting. They were not accountable to the people of this country. Armies all over the world are accountable to the civilian government.
In our own case, the army was accountable to itself.
Key stakeholders, including students, youths, and people in the province, were marginalized by the political elite and ultimately played a central role in initiating the conflict. A Freedom of Information Act that permits greater public access to government records should be passed to increase transparency.
The government should maintain zero tolerance for corruption. Above all, government should avoid the use of public funds to promote partisan political causes and in order to ensure its stay in power.
The institutions charged with preventing corruption and ensuring transparency must be strengthened. The Anti-Corruption Commission must have the power to investigate and prosecute its own cases without interference from the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. All public sector workers should be promoted and evaluated through objective measures and should be given living wage salaries to reduce their inclination to corruption.
And a reasonable amount. We're not saying they should be paid astronomical salaries. No. But pay them a decent wage so that if you find any evidence of corruption, you can come down on them heavily.
The collective political exclusion of youths motivated them to assert themselves into the political process.
The generation of students and youth of the 70s and 80s.
Then students will be there inside Fobe College and other colleges then during the 70s and 80s.
Despite merciless suppression and oppression.
Despite the thing where they do them for take the rights away from them.
Created a condition for the overthrow of bad governance.
Now them begin this fetia against this bad government in this country.
And the restitution of democratic government in the 1990s.
And then begin the fight for make we get democracy we would enjoy today.
The war of itself came to Sierra Leone officially through the border na Bomaru.
The war here in Sierra Leone started through the border in Bomaru.
So they try for talk to we, for educate we about the war.
They tried to tell us about the war.
And try for persuade mostly the youth for make them join them for the cause.
They tried to convince us, especially with the young ones, so that we will join them.
The most important things where they're able to convince some of we for join the revolution was
some of the important issues they raised that we are able to convince some of us we are
that after we don't join them, after the whole problem, we go get free education in Australia, free medical facility, good roads, good drinking water, etc., etc.
That if we join them, after the revolution, we'll be able to benefit from free education, good roads, water supply, electricity, and etc., etc.
The war eventually also affected mainstream youths because it destroyed families, disrupted schooling, and increased the already serious unemployment problem. Many of the problems that prompted young people to go to war in Sierra Leone have not been adequately addressed, including a serious lack of job and educational opportunities. The needs of youth should be seen as a national emergency that demands national mobilization. A National Youth Commission should be charged with responsibility for the implementation of the National Youth Policy and the National Youth Plan. New government policies should focus on training and employing the growing number of workers dropping out of the formal employment sector. Electoral laws should be amended to ensure that at least 10% of the candidates from each political party for all elected offices are youth between the ages of 18 and 35.
We all know that for too long, women and girls in Sierra Leone and other developing countries have suffered in silence. They have suffered gross violations quietly. The TRC in Sierra Leone now provides an opportunity to have the voices of these women and girls heard.
I am heartbroken, that's why I'm here. There. I was in my hometown called Bobu Tonkia. Then they came. They said he suggested that my father should be crowned chief. My father refused. Okay, Mohammed One Blood refused. He said the old man was a bad guy. He said that the man had refused to give him a wife and gave her instead to a teacher. And so they held my father. And my father's scrotum and my husband's scrotum were tied together. And they killed my father. And they killed my husband as well. They killed my mother and all my relatives. I saw them cut my father's throat. And they gave me my father's blood to drink. And my husband was cut to pieces. Mohammed One Blood told me, he said, today, you are my wife. So I agreed. But then I had a baby. I was nursing a baby. Yes, I was a nursing mother. This example that has been shown to me, he said, oh, what you have seen, I thought you would cry. He told me to laugh. I was laughing. I didn't laugh to his satisfaction. He beat me up. My mouth is entirely empty of teeth. Because of the beating, I was bleeding through my nose. He took my baby from me, cut the baby into two. After that, Mohammed One Blood.
Yeah, Mohammed One Blood.
Mohammed One Blood asked me, said, you know what we're going to do to you today? You have no relative anymore. So today you are my wife. Well, I said, okay. Well, apart from him, there were so many other men there who were raping me. And I had my children. 3 children remained with me. If I had refused them, they would have killed me.
Women were systematically targeted during the war. They suffered rape and sexual slavery with more frequency than any other violations, including forced labor, displacement, and amputation. The leaders of the various armed groups, including the Sierra Leone Army, should admit responsibility for sexual violations of women during the war and offer a public apology. The Disarmament, Demobilization, and Reintegration, or DDR program, was accessed almost exclusively by men and ignored the plight of women combatants. Government agencies and NGOs should launch programs that specifically address the needs of ex-combatant women and girls, and a permanent commission for women should be created. Thousands of children were systematically targeted as victims and perpetrators of the conflict in Sierra Leone.
So I didn't go for take my sister. And then they say, well, you know, go for answer quick. They say, they kill his sister now, so let you know, say yes already.
So they took my sister. They said because I did not answer them when they asked, they're going to kill her.
So then cut my sister head before I did the mouth. Then cut my sister head before I did the mouth.
They beheaded my sisters.
So can cause now my sister head now. I don't think I get away and for do. I mean, don't panic.
So after they beheaded my sister, I became panicked.
So they go when I 7-Up garage.
So they took us to 7-Up garage.
When I go when I 7-Up garage, they go they kiss. They give 12 men, then they go they kill one man there.
So they killed 2 of my friends.
Children were abducted and used as potters and sex slaves, and many of them were eventually forced into combat as soldiers. 50% of the victims of forced recruitment, whose age was documented, were 14 years old or younger when they were abducted.
I'll be responsible for recruiting and training.
I was responsible for recruiting and training.
Normally,
according
to my military experience, I will get a recruiting team.
I had a recruiting team
from all the units. Apart from the captured or abducted children there.
Beside the captured or abducted children.
Because when they don't launch an offensive, then capture an area, all the young men them, all the small bobo them, SGU, SBU them, then they hold them all.
Because when an offensive was launched, all the small boys, all the young men, SBUs, SDUs, they captured all of them.
But me, when I write my letter of recruiting,
when I wrote my letter of recruiting,
I would say I don't want SBU day.
I would say I did not want any SBU.
But some of these commanders,
with
their wives then,
together with their wives,
then they go catch their small picking them for bring them in the house for use them as slaves or
went and caught those children, brought them into their houses and used them as slaves and
for work for them,
so that they could work for them.
The RAF they enter.
The RAF entered.
When the RAF they enter,
when they entered,
they go for kill 2 of my brother.
2 of my brothers were killed.
They capture me.
I was captured.
But the commander will catch me.
The commander who captured me,
Colonel Mosquito
captured me.
The other one shot me.
The other commander had wanted to kill me.
Colonel Mosquito go for tell and say, "Don't kill me."
Colonel Mosquito told him, "Don't kill me."
Now he go for take me as your own personal bobo.
He took me as his personal boy.
Now they say, now when they can begin training here, we get for first danger war inside Sierra Leone. Now when we get for use as bobo there for the go and spy.
They told us that this was a station, the place where they are going to train all of us to come back to Sierra Leone to fight a very fatal war.
But they're pulling by the tongue.
They did not encourage us on that talk at all.
So what say now we go? Now see, 2 row motorman there. New one motorman there head. 2, one day at the stick here, one day at the stick here. They're the road they middle.
And this time I had a very, very traumatic experience since I saw fresh human beings, the fresh heads of human beings stuck on a stake, one on the right, one in the center, and one on the left.
Nice. Now I see right there, Boo Training Center.
Then I saw written somewhere, Boo Training Center.
I see a video, this money.
Then I told myself that I have never been to such a place.
Now we say, okay, no problem.
So I assured myself again that I have to conform.
I see, so now I don't got no background again. Are they ready for anything now? Right now, what we had, are they ready for doing?
I assured myself at this point that I am fully prepared now to face anything, any eventuality.
The rights of children spelled out in the Convention on the Rights of the Child and other international treaties must be incorporated into the national laws of Sierra Leone and enforced. Urgent attention should be given to children, particularly girls, who were left out of the DDR program, to help them develop skills that will enable them to lead productive lives.
The Sam, there be the left them pick out on our bush as well.
then they go. Now, any benefit we come for UNICEF or any organization, they say na ex-combatants them. Which of course, then ex-combatants here, they don't fuel, they don't fuel this free country. So we find out saying at the street here, any benefit where they can say ex-combatants. And then ex-combatants here, we want people they know saying that they don't fuel the country. Other people, then the way the war affects, they say they forgive them chance for making themselves receive them benefits here so.
It is sad to note that many of these young girls were put into the conditions they are now by these people who are now ex-combatants. But whenever benefits of whatever sort come for them, all there is to hear is the benefits are for ex-combatants. And it's unfair to note that these ladies or young girls were brought into that state they are now by these people who seek to enjoy the benefits.
Sierra Leone is failing to meet the pressing needs of its children. Many are homeless and live in dire poverty. All children should receive free education through junior secondary school. The policy that the government initiated to provide free, accessible health care should be implemented for all children. Priority should be placed on girl children, pregnant children, girl mothers and their babies, HIV-positive children, and children with physical and psychological disorders.
The Commission will make recommendations to the government on reparations, which the government will have to implement. We expect that the civil society will hold the government to account on the implementation of the recommendations of the Commission directed to the government and to the state bodies.
The TRC recommends a reparations program to ensure that war victims receive support from the government. Children who were orphaned by the war or who were abducted should receive education through secondary level or skills training and free medical care, including expert scar removal. All adult and child victims of sexual violence should receive free medical care and surgery, skills training, or education through the secondary level and microcredit loans. All amputees should receive free medical care, surgery, and artificial limbs, as well as rehabilitation services, skills training, or education through the secondary level. Adult amputees should also receive housing and a pension. All amputees and war wounded, victims of sexual violence, abducted children, orphans, and children subjected to forced labor during the war should receive trauma counseling and support. War memorials should be established at key locations around the country.
These people are gathered here together, are standing here together. They should not have been standing here together, but for the spirit of reconciliation. Today, Imam Jallo and Hassan Kamara know who killed their father. And Imam Jallo has asked me to make a statement before Hassan would come to prostrate before them in the spirit of reconciliation for them to accept Sonny Toka, so that wherever he goes, he will not run away from Hassan and he will not run away from Imam.
Nya Siawu Kogola, Nya Kekemia Al-Hajj Ahmed Jallo, to go on Yala Big Buna period.
As I know, my father was late Alhaji Amadou Jallo, who was killed at Bondape Road.
Edigalilo Guma up to 32 children.
He left 32 children.
Teama tege hemi bemulo.
His house was burned.
Teama tege nyada jevu togo molested tege le tandago to jiagi.
My mother was molested and so many evil things done to her.
On behalf of our family and as religious figures of this place, we have pardoned all of you.
In the spirit of reconciliation,
Soni cha degenasia te mukeke boy dunyijima fuije ha nyadali salo Sheikh Bashir Diala dakeji nyadi mi go opo nyamoye ka aya watakama ko ofo mama
as long as Sheikh Bashir has said to us, I will please, he said it on behalf of the rest of the family members. As from this day, Sonny is my brother, and I don't want any other conflict to come between us again.
I don't kill.
I have killed.
I don't do beaucoup things where they against the nation.
I have done so many wrong things that are against the nation.
I rape.
I raped.
So I beg una.
I'm begging you
for mercy.
For mercy.
Accept me in my.
Accept my.
In your community.
Accept me once again in your community.
As a son.
As your son.
Me and Papa them agree to all.
Greetings to you, my fathers.
A day before you una today, me a small bobo.
I am a small boy standing in front of you today.
But what I do to some of una, it hurts past where somebody they can slap you.
Those things that I did to you, they are so painful, more than even when somebody can just give you a slap.
So, boy, yes, still, bad bush no day for throw bad picking.
There is no bad bush to throw to send away a bad child.
So I want all what you don't do when I wrong to now, let una forgive and take we back inside the community.
I am kindly asking you to forgive us of all that we have done.
With all the destruction and atrocities committed by the AFRC and whosoever fought the war, those attitudes were all mankind, man-made ventures. Therefore, at this time, in the name of the Lord Almighty God, I raise my hands to say to Sierra Leoneans that all of us are the same. Whatsoever might have been injected in us to have caused atrocities, to have formed whatsoever, to have raped, to have done whatsoever chaos activities that the war might have done, I am saying that you should have pardon on all. We are the children.
I also wish, on behalf of the members of the Sierra Leone Police Force, whom we have accepted inter alia to have been both perpetrators and victims, to express remorse for all the wrongdoings which we and our personnel did both before and during the war, and to genuinely apologize for all such wrongdoing with a promise that such will never be repeated in the course of our history.
We have to confront our past. We should not be ashamed of that. I have accepted responsibility for the mistakes made by the APC, for which I have asked for forgiveness to all of you, to members of the public and everybody. Mistakes were made by the APC, and we are sorry for those mistakes.
As the Republic of Sierra Leone forces went out to fight, a lot of atrocities and crimes against humanity were committed against Sierra Leoneans. I stand here today on behalf of the Republic of Sierra Leone armed forces to promise that the RSLF have taken a human face to label the police as a force for good. We want you to label the Republic of Sierra Leone forces as a force for the police and peace for all. I thank you very much.
I represent a party that ruled this country in the years immediately after independence. We may have made our own mistakes. Perhaps we should have stood up to be counted instead of acquiescing or capitulating. In the last so many months, since the beginning of May, we've had strange stories of man's inhumanity to man, of human suffering, of wanting destruction. But we thank God for the inspiration He has given us to acknowledge and confess our wrongdoing. More importantly, for giving us the grace to forgive those who wronged us. We thank Him for those who have counseled us, that is the members of the TRC, and thus enabled us to forgive each other publicly.
The National Vision Project of the TRC was aimed at enabling people to express their vision for a future Sierra Leone. Hundreds of pictures, plays, poems, and songs were submitted.
I saw. My poem I saw. I saw the atrocities in Sierra Leone. Yes, I saw. I saw the people running for their lives from city to town, town to village, village to the bush. Yes, I saw. I saw rebel Sierra Leone army and Kamajo shooting in the street, killing and attacking and looting. Yes, I saw. I saw children crying for food. Yes, I saw. I saw abomination between man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, adult and children. Yes, I saw. I saw a victim helping a victim. Yes, I saw. I saw the United Nations peacekeeping force, and I was happy. Yes, I saw. I saw the rebel coming home for peace. Yes, I saw. I pray never to see again what I saw in my beloved Sierra Leone.
Never again must the vast majority sit passively by.
No more again. Boku people then, we boku na the country, we not go sit down again.
And allow few people.
And allow small people them.
Motivated by nothing.
We not get any good thing for this country.
Other than insatiable greed.
Past greediness where they pan them.
And naked lust for power.
And this jump where they pan them for get power.
To misrule and abuse us.
For grab for take power and spoil the country for we.
And in the process drag the nation down the abyss of destruction.
And inside that kind way they bring the country like how they bring and come.
Sierra Leone belongs to all of us.
This country belongs to all of we.
Therefore,
because of that,
we have the natural right to actively participate in making and taking all the major political, economic, and the social decisions affecting our lives.
We all in a saloon. We get rights for take part inside the money business of this country, inside Yange business, and inside the politics of this country.
For one saloon.
Let we all join on.
For one saloon.
Let we all join on.
For one saloon.
Let we all join on.
For one saloon.
We not promising picking them where they grab. Now this world we they tell them fambu they say for any picking the way for go. So when he big, he no go turn rebel on it man. We no fine no. Now we no say bad no good, but we no say not all we fault. Parent then na the foundation. So fambu them for better salon. We not promising picking them where we grab. Now this world we they tell them fambu they say for any picking the way for go. So way big in a go turn rebel on it man we no fine no. Bad bush no dey for throw away bad picking. So fambu them una train una picking them. So way big in a go turn rebel on it man we no fine no.